Hi, Julia Watts here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we're going to make a card using various techniques with the Flawless Media Radiant Lustre Pigment powders, and we're also going to be using the Spectacular Squares Rose Medley, both products from Sentimentally Yours. There'll be one or two other products that we use as well, including dyes and some gesso. So let's start by doing some stamping. And this card is going to be featured in one of the magazines from Practical Publishing. And we're going to use the small square stamps because we're going to do various different techniques. Let's start with this one. Pop it on a block. So first of all, we're going to stamp with the powders, and I'm going to be doing a pink and black card. So the powder I'm using is the Orchid Whisper. Now these are 25ml pots, and they are a mixture of pigment and mica powder, and they have a binding agent in it as well. Really good value for money. They retail at £4.99, and for a 25ml pot that's going to last you a very, very long time. So first of all, we're going to pop some powder onto a piece of copy paper. Now you can absolutely do this onto a piece of card and then mist it afterwards and die cut it and, you know, not waste it. But for the purposes of this, I'm just going to use a piece of copy paper. I'm going to use a soft brush, and this is one of the Cosmic Shimmer brushes. Did not want to do that. Put the top on. We'll use that, make sure we don't waste it. So let's pop this on here. So we're just going to get ourselves a decent amount of powder over here, because I've got a lot of powder going on. And you don't need to wash these brushes. You just flick them, and that's good to go into the next colour. Then we're going to take our rose stamp, and we're just going to rub it into the powder. Now this is the dry powder technique, as I call it. You can absolutely, got drops here today, you can absolutely do it wet as well, and I'll go off at a tangent in a moment and show you the wet technique. So you just want to make sure you've got plenty of powder onto your stamp, that everything's covered. That's good to go. Let's put this to one side just for a moment. Quite a mess going on there. I don't know if you can, oh, you can see the powder, can't you? Not done that before. There's always a first, isn't there? So this is, we're going to go onto a square. This is a double deboss essential square, and this is the 5th size that I've cut, which matches with the stamps, just leaving a little deboss border around the edge. And that's counting from inside out. So the smallest die is number 1, and this is the 5th. And I'm going to just mist this with some water. So this is the thing which is quite difficult to get right. So mist it with water and then mist it again. You know, it's better if you have more water on there than less. Then I'm going to hover over the top, which I can't really see around the camera, but we'll just eyeball it and give it a good old press. And there we go. It's stamped beautifully, hasn't it? It's not lined up too badly. We'll go with that. And you can actually get, I'll show you on copy paper because I don't want to use it. You can actually get another print, depending on how dark the powder is. You can actually get more than one print out until you just don't see it anymore. That one is quite light. Now, if that was a darker powder, you'd be able to see that. So then what you want to do is, I mean, I actually want 2 of these. So I'll do another one in a moment. But then what you want to do is just pop that into some water, and that will wash off nice and cleanly. So let's actually do our second one. So we do have two. I want to just dry it off a little bit because I'm going to dip it in the powder again, and if it's wet, then it's not going to work quite as well. So let's bring in our copy paper again. Bits on. And pick up some more of this powder that I've got lying around. Oh, this is dreadful. I will use as much as I can, don't worry. It won't get wasted. The biggest waste of a powder, I think, is if it stays in the pot. I mean, you want it in the pot, obviously, but, you know, you want to use it. It's not good value for money, a product, if you don't use it, is it? So, and again, we're just going to rub this in. You don't need any perfect medium or any Versamark on your stamp, because the stickiness of the stamp, and this is slightly damp as well because obviously I've misted it, will pick up the powder. In fact, it's better if you don't put a perfect medium or Versamark on there anyway, because it's going to be more sticky. Let's get another square. Let's see if we go for 2 out of 2 again. Mist it with water. Think you've missed it enough, and then just give it another mist so that it's nice and damp. And then again, we're going to just see if we can eyeball it quite straight around the camera, which is very, very difficult to do. And give it a good old press. Sometimes if your stamp's dirty like mine is, you will pick up some ink as well. I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, there's the second one. It's a little bit not stamped quite as well as the first stamping that I did, because I've got obviously the stamper's a little bit wet, so we've got a few blotches, but I don't mind that. It is a collage type stamp anyway, so that's absolutely fine. So there's 2 for 2. Now you can actually do this stamp wet as well with the powder, so let's show you that as well. Let's give this a quick clean. I mean, some of the powders do stain your stamps, but as long as you clean them, it's absolutely fine. And I tend to just pop them in water for now, and then I'll go and run them under a tap with a little soft nail brush, and that will clean them off quite nicely. So the wet technique, to stamp in wet, we're not going to use this one, I don't think, but we're going off at a tangent because we can. Don't open that, Julia, use this. Let's put a little bit of water on our craft sheet, and let's pick up some of this powder. In fact, a damp brush is better. Mix ourselves a paint. It's quite runny at the moment. I should have just mixed it there. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, you can. Right. I want it nice and thick. Okay. And now we can pick this up onto a piece of, this is just cut and dry foam. And now we're making ourselves an ink pad. Let's see if we can get some more. You don't have to be as messy as I am. If you've watched my other videos, you'll see I've not done this before. I've not spilt a load of powder before. Fortunately, because there's a lot in the pot, you can get away with it. Okay, so now we've got ourselves an ink pad. So just like we would do normally, just tap, 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 tap over the surface of your stamp. Tap, 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 tap. And you can put this in a polythene bag to keep the moisture in. If it does dry out, all you need to do is just reactivate it with water and you can use it again. Lots of tapping. Hopefully this will work. And then again, eyeball it. Doesn't matter which way up the stamp is because it's a square. There we go. So that's stamping wet. So compare it against stamping dry, stamping wet. It's interesting, isn't it? I find it fascinating anyway. Right, so that's that. That'll go in a poly bag. And let's do, in fact, I do want to do a little bit of painting, so I might as well do it while my paint is being made. I've got some embellishments. This is from the lots of locks. Not lots of locks. What's it called? Oh. This set, Locks and Keys. That's the one. Sentimentally Yours. I don't have the packaging, so I can't remember what the name is. So I've chosen some, and I've cut them out in black and in white. Normally I'd use my palette for this, so I've got a palette and I've got my Awkward Whisper down here, but obviously because I've made such a mess, I might as well just use what we've got here. So I'm just going to paint onto these. I'm not sure whether I'm going to use the black ones or the white ones, but we're just going to paint them. So the powders do really pop on black card. I do really love them on black card. I'll probably give them another coat actually, because it's a little bit, it's not as thick as I normally have the paint, but let's just go with this for now. I've got a bit over there I can use as well. A bit of water, or a lot of water. You can also use the metallic Flawless Media paints, and you can actually change the colours of them using the lustre powders, and you can also lighten them using the Lunar Pearl lustre powders, which is definitely a powder you want to go for. So let's put that there out of the way for now. And let's do just a little clean up. Okay, so we're all cleaned up now, and I've managed to pick up the rest of the powder and the paint that was on my mat, and I've either put it onto my piece of fat foam, or I've popped it onto an indigo blue paint mat here. So nothing was wasted, so we're all good. So another technique that you can do is to add a tiny bit of gesso to your powder, and I mean a tiny bit, just a little tiny bit like that. That'll be plenty, and give it a good old mix. So the gesso is going to obviously make a coloured gesso if you like, but I haven't added loads of it so that it doesn't make it too white. So I don't want it too white. And then we're going to just use the brush like that, and this is going to be essentially again an ink pad if you like. So now we're going to take the other stamp from the set, the other rose, and let's see if we can move this so that we know where we're at. we're going to take another square, and I'm just going to dip into the paint, making sure it's all covered. Quite hard to tell actually. I think we're all covered. It is quite wet. I'm just going to give it, if it's not that wet, you want to give it a mist with water. And again, we're going to eyeball this. Give it a press. You don't want to linger too long on the gesso because it is like a surface binder, if you like. So again, really nice image, but it's chalkier. So when that dries, that won't have a shimmer on it because the chalk is dominant. That's within the gesso. Oh, I missed a tiny bit there, but that's fine. So this one obviously will be, I know where that's going to go. So let's do just another one. And for this last one, I'm just going to add a little bit more gesso. Tiny bit more. Make sure I've got a clean spatula. So this will lighten it even more and make it thicker. In which case we'll need to add a little bit more water. Don't mess around too much because you've got gesso on your stamp. Let's go. I'm going to go a tiny bit lighter because I want to see the difference between them. Because I think I am going to use one of the ones that I stamped wet with the powder as well as a dry one, and then we'll have a few points of difference. Let's give this a here. I mean, obviously I wouldn't waste this and I'd have lots of squares to stamp on. Just a slight mist. And again, we'll eyeball this. And then straight away, I'm going to put my stamp into some water so that it doesn't spoil. So now we've got this one here, which is chalkier than the first one. So we've got 4 different, slightly different squares now. So they will be arranged. This is the wet one, stamped wet. That's with gesso. That's with more gesso. And this is the original stamped dry one. So they're going to go on my card. Let's just move these out of the way for a moment. Deal with that. And these are dry now, my locks and keys. I think I'm going to go for the white ones though. I think I'm going to go for those. But you can see the difference between the black and the white. So those are those. I am going to use what's on my fat foam. Hopefully it's wet still. We'll soon find out, won't we? Just to ink around the edges. I normally would use just a piece of kitchen sponge, but as this is already there, I'm going to use this. Careful, this might be a bit, this is the one I've just done, so might be a little bit wet. So this is kind of really using it just like you'd use your distress inks. So I'll go around the edge of all of those. I'll do that in a moment while I'm setting up. And I do want to stamp a sentiment in the centre here. So I'm going to go for one of the Très Chic Essential Sentiments. And as we're on a pink and black theme, I think we're going to stamp it with Charming Pink Burst Fine Clair. So this is a stitched taunt circle. I can't remember which number it is. Let's have a look. Oh, there's the ovals. The ovals and the circles are similar at the bottom. So I've used this one. So that's the third size, number 3. And then I've cut number 4 out of black card. Elegant Ebony. So this is pure white, and I have been working on pure white card from Sentimentally Yours all through. I do like the happy birthday to you. I use that and sending a little note to say, thinking of you today. That's lovely, isn't it? Let's have thinking of you today. There's so many really nice ones on here. It's a wonderful font. Let's move that out of the way for a minute. And I'm going to use one of the Sentimentally Yours acrylic circle blocks because they fit. They're so ergonomic. They fit beautifully in your hand. And we're not going to bother with the stamping platform. We're just going to go for it and hope for the best. Oh, I've got something wrong with my stamp there. I think I have a fault on that stamp, so I can't use that one. That's very unusual, that. Let's put that to one side and use another one. With very best wishes. So tap, 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 tap. And Versifying Clear, we could, because it's quite a juicy ink, you could emboss it with clear embossing powder, which would be lovely. I'm just going to hover over there, go straight down. Obviously, it's a circle. You don't need to worry about which way up it's going or anything like that. Would be nice if it was in the circle, but, you know, as in central, but we'll soon find out, won't we? That's fine. So I'm just going to ink around the edges of this one as well. Being careful not to put my fingers in the Versifying Clear. Like so. And then that will go onto a black disc. Like so. Okay, so I'm just going to ink around the edges and I'll come back and I'll show you construction in a moment. Okay, so it's construction time. So I've got square card here that measures 7 1/4 inches square, so it's an 8 by 8 that I've cut down. And we've got a double deboss square in Fabulous Fuchsia card and also one in Elegant Ebony. And I've just edged, I don't know if you can just about see, I've edged the black card with the powder as well, the Orchid Whisper that was on my fat foam. So we're just going to pop our squares on, and I'm going to just pop them flat. So this one was the square that was made using the wet stamping with the powder from the fat foam or the cut and dry foam. So that's going to go in the corner here. Oh, that's the wrong way up. Nearly had an upside down square there. So I'm going to try and line them up with the edges of my deboss line, and then that way I might get them straight around the camera, which is always difficult. Okay, that's that one. Then this one is the first stamping with the powder mixed as a paint, but then with a little bit of gesso added to it. So this is the darker of the two and the less chalky of the two. So again, we're going to just put that into the corner, and then hopefully it's straight. And I did originally think about putting them onto the fuchsia card first, then the black, but it just got lost a little bit. So this one is my dry stamping with the powder. So the powder onto the copy paper, pick it up onto the stamp, and then mist the stamp with water before stamping. So although I suppose it might not be that easy to see, they are different techniques. So I tried to pick a colour that, because I'm only using one colour of the powder, I tried to pick one that wouldn't change too much with the gesso added, because I did originally think I'd do it with Splendid Scarlet, which is that lovely red, but then obviously that would become pink, and I didn't want that to happen. And then finally, this is the really chalky one. I really like this one actually. This is probably my favourite. This is with more gesso added to the paint that I've made with the powder. Pop that, and I am using the Sentimentally Yours PVA. And again, pop that into the corner of my deboss square. Hopefully they're all straight. This is going to really show in the magazine if they're not straight. Hopefully that's okay. And then I've matted, oops, sorry, there was a camera hit. I've matted my sentiment onto my larger stitch torn circle. I mean, obviously you can absolutely use the double deboss circles or the elegant eyelet circles, or any circles. Let's see if we can have the with best wishes nice and straight, like so. And then finally we're going to add our lock and our key. So I think we're going to put that one up there, and I think we're going to have this one down like that. So we're just going to glue those in place. So the magazine is due out on the 23rd of June. It's the Creative Stamping magazine. I'm just going to blot some of this glue off because I don't want loads of glue. And in shops 23rd of June, and there will be other projects made with the Spectacular Squares in the magazine from the design team, and Ilona has done a video as well for her YouTube channel, so be sure to check that out. So welcome to any new subscribers, lovely that you've joined us. And remember, there are lots and lots of videos on my channel for Sentimentally Yours and for other brands that I represent as well. So there we are. Hope you've enjoyed that. So we've used the Spectacular Squares Roses Medley, and essentially the only powder that we've used is your Orchid Whisper, and we've added a little bit of the gesso too. And we've got the essential squares, double deboss, we've got the stitch torn circles, the chic, Trace Chic essential sentiments, and the double deboss, I already said that, haven't I? Double deboss squares, and the locks and keys. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Do check out my other videos, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.